This is the Collecting Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Purse, here with your co-host, Bill Hamill.
I'm somewhat more comfortable collecting real estate than I am collecting other stuff.
This is the Collecting Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Purse, here with your co-host, Bill Hamill. This morning we interviewed Myron McNeil from American Commodity Investment Group. Myron truly explained the entrepreneurial dream. Just under 4 years, he went from getting a call from his college buddy saying, "Hey, I have an investment idea for us," to 2 months ago, leaving his W-2 and taking on real estate investing full time. Bill, what do you think about his story?
No, I think it's awesome. He's taking the fundamental steps to get where he is in 3.5 years. Where, as he mentioned in the episode, passion for what you're doing can carry you a long way. And 3.5 years, he's building his business successfully. It's very impressive.
Yeah, I think we spent the first 30 minutes just talking about direct to seller, and it seems like that's where he's really built a strong skill set and network. And now they have deal flow with 5 deals under contract, and the sky is the limit from here. But also with an engineering background that helps him stay organized and on top of everything that he has going on. You can see those two skill sets working together well, and I'm excited to see where he goes and where the business goes.
No, absolutely. He definitely dropped some nuggets on the direct to seller. They have their own approach, attracting deals, doing their direct to seller follow ups, and there's a lot there to listen to.
Myron said passion will get you there, and that's definitely true for himself. Myron McNeil, thank you for being here this morning. Really excited for this interview, this podcast here from American Commodity Investment Group. Tell us about your journey. How did you first get into the real estate investing industry?
Yeah, first off, thanks Stephen and Bill for having me, man. It's definitely pleasure, honor to be here. And yeah, thanks for having me. So as far as real estate goes, for me, I've always had a passion for real estate, even uh, back, you know, going into college. I started reading all the books, that we always read. It always, is Rich Dad, Poor Dad is always one of the first ones, but I always had a passion of real estate and trying to learn how to, build wealth. And when me and my wife first got married, we met in college, we opened up a real estate company. She became a real estate broker and we got a real estate license and we started doing the retail real estate thing. But it's like, that's really not, that's transactional. It's not really wealth building. So had a partner in college. We both had the same mindset in real estate, even though we were in college getting engineering degrees. And we started doing like, house flipping and other small investment, but still transactional. You know what I mean? So, believe it or not, after dibbling and dabbling in all the various different types of real estate, while working full time in corporate America, me and my partner that I met in college about 3 or 4 years ago decided, hey, let's go all in on multifamily. And it was a boot camp event that he had went to, and he called me up after the boot camp, and he's like, "Man, we have to do multifamily. This is true wealth building. This is what we've always talked about." And I, I took his word, did some research, about 6 to 8 months, just absorbed myself in all type of education, and yeah, my mind just exploded, man. And fast forward 3 4 years, here we are.
Awesome. It's great to have you this morning, Myron. And no, I can relate with a lot of that, something that I read many years ago, and I tend to repeat back when I hear you say about the transactional retail part of real estate sales, where you pay your bills selling real estate, you get rich owning real estate.
Yep.
And that's the absolute truth. I love it when I see realtors who are actually selling it, who are actually buying it as well. That's a whole nother story. But when you had that epiphany going into large multifamily, did you and your partner already start with smaller properties, or did you just jump right into large multifamily?
Yeah, great question. We, after going through all the education and, join different mastermind groups, we actually didn't care what type of property that we got first. We definitely wanted it to be commercial, so 5 units or more. But we started, getting into the direct to seller aspect of it to try to find deals. And the first deal that jumped on our radar was actually 11 unit multifamily complex. So we really didn't have a mindset where we have to do the big multifamily deals or the small. We were just trying to get the first deal, and we understood and we spoke to so many people about the power of the first deal, and we just wanted to get the first deal, and it just so happened to be 11 unit, which was a perfect starter deal for us to learn from and grow from. And after that, everything just exploded.
Power of the first deal. It's so true. It really does snowball after that. I like how you shared your inspiration moments. I think we all have a light bulb moment where we go, oh, multifamily, that might be it right there. The first person that gave me that light bulb moment, he had a saying that was inspiration, education, action. And he actually wrote it down in that order on $2 bills and handed it out to everyone in the room so you could remember it with him.
Oh, awesome.
And you explained you were inspired by the boot camp, your friend called you, and then you got educated, and then you took action. And that action was going direct to seller, which is probably something you learned about through that education phase. And you ended up finding an 11 unit, which is a terrific first property that's really scaling quickly. But when you took that action, you went direct to seller. What action steps did you take? There's a lot of new investors that listen to this podcast and they hear stuff like go direct to seller, and then they go sit behind their computer, they pull up Zillow and they get distracted by Instagram and try again the next day. Nothing really happens. You were successful going direct to seller. You found an 11 unit. What steps did you take to get there?
Great question. And I think for us, the first thing we knew we had to build a strong team. And the benefit that we had, we've known each other for 20 plus years in college. So we already had that strong foundation. We're both like-minded and our strengths complement each other. So we took the action together to go all in. The first thing we did was sign up for some type of data analysis type tool. And because we had the brokerage company, we went with CoStar. There's other tools out there, Reonomy. You have to find something to where you can sort and get these lists, these owner lists. So after we signed up for that, that's an investment. I mean, it can be pretty pricey, but we understood the value that we were gaining from investing in something like that. We get the owner's list. The next thing you do, you have to get them skip traced because a lot of it is just raw data. So you want to be able to get it skip traced to give you more realistic contact information, numbers, cell numbers, emails, things of that nature. But so once you have the list and you have the data, I think one of the most important things is getting good data. A lot of people don't have good data. You have to start with good data. The the second most important thing is when you're calling these people, you have to be persistent because everyone's going to say no. I mean, no one wants to sell. I mean, you're going to get cursed out. You're going to hear all of that. And in the beginning, it's tough. You want to give up. You want to quit. Cold calling is not the preferred method, but we knew that there's so many opportunities in that if you can actually find that one seller. So what happened with us, everyone said no, but it's like, okay, what is it that they want? Even though they say no, if someone stays on the phone for 30 seconds or at least listen to anything that you're saying, you know that you have their attention. They didn't just hang up on you, they didn't curse you out. So we focused on those individuals, right? The few who actually they may have said no, but they gave you a minute or 2 minutes of your time. So those individuals, we try to come up with different strategies on how to stay connected with them. Even though you don't want to sell, as a new investor, is there any type of pointers you can give to us? Kind of play that mentor mentee role, and just keep touching them. Like every month, follow up. We would even though they say no, we would drive out to their property, take a picture in front of the sign, and just text it to them, just to show them that, hey, we're still interested, we're in the game. And I think that persistence, a lot of people want instant gratification, but you don't get that in the direct to seller game. So the patience, you have to have patience. So 6 to 8 months later, the same person who said no, something happened, and he was ready to sell. Something happened on the property. It was a headache for him. It was one he had other properties, but he was ready to let this one go. And because we were constantly following up with him, once a month, even if it was something subtle, he remembered us and he actually gave us opportunity to buy it. So I think the most important aspect is the follow up. Don't just keep calling new people if they say no, but follow up and stay connected to the ones who may have said no, but you still have are they're still conversational with you.
No, I love that. No, those are great points. You and your partner created your own system by starting with CoStar. Stephen and I have been using Reonomy, and yeah, it gives you great raw data. But I love how you mentioned if somebody has, if you have someone's attention for what, 15 seconds or more, they may be saying no, 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 but they didn't just hang up. So you know that there's at least a degree of interest, not now, but could be 6 months, could be 6 years. And did you develop your own system basically saying, okay, this seller reacted this way, or this owner, at least we had on the phone for a couple minutes, and really start getting granular on your follow-ups, on your database, knowing that some people were a little warmer than others, and then you just stay digging?
So we started out, and my partner, he's a lot more better at it than me. He's almost like a natural. But we started out with all these scripts, and we would try to, you know, when they answer, say this, start with this. But we found out that the best results just came from you being authentic, without a script, and it takes time to develop it over time. But just being yourself and being genuine, when someone answers, just being genuine, being upfront, and kind of learning how to read people in a certain aspect, and on the fly kind of make a decision on how you want to approach this person. So we don't use any scripts or anything at this point. We just kind of fill the person out, and when we follow up with them, then we have their initial the initial conversation allows us to prepare for the follow up. We found that some people just like to talk and you just listen.
Mm.
It's not meant for you to say anything, but in that conversation, there's certain nuggets that they may drop, and you play off that for the follow up. One guy, we found out that he's in his mid 60s or whatever at this point. But we found out that he was a huge basketball fan and he loved Michael Jordan. That was like one of the guys he loved. So my partner, what did he do? He sent the guy a simple memorabilia with Michael Jordan. Just little simple things that you can connect to the person. You just find any angle, any way you can to connect to them.
So many good direct to seller points here, just sales points in general, finding those nuggets and keeping track of them, writing them down in a system so it's not just something you write down and forget about it right away. And being able to think on the fly, because in this real estate direct to seller game, they're going to ask you, what would you pay for that? What do you think that should cost? And you have to be prepared to come up with numbers on the fly. And like you said, not being afraid of delaying that gratification. I like to think that every property out there is going to sell at some point. It might be a year, it might be 50 years. The key is just being the first person they reach out to when that happens. So you create your database of people and properties that you're interested in, stay in touch with them. And when they're ready to sell, you want to be that first person. Are you still going direct to seller in the same way? And if you are, can you tell us about some more of the deals past that 11 unit?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the when you're starting out, for us, our approach with direct to seller wasn't so much of just volume, calling hundreds, thousands, and just keep calling new people. Once we start calling and we pick our markets that we want, we focus on the big players in those markets and we focus on the follow up because we understood that if we could land just one deal from a big player, maybe some low hanging fruit that he isn't really interested in, the probability is high that he'll sell us something else. And that is the strategy that has worked for us. Um, one owner that we connected to direct to seller, he sold us a 14 unit property. It's a mixed use property with residential on top, and there's 4 commercial tenants on the bottom that's performing outstanding. And he's also we're like a week or two away from closing on another one of his properties. So once you're able to prove yourself that you can close and they take that chance on you, it's like, okay, I'll take a chance on you and I'll give you this one deal. Probability is high that if he owns thousands of units and has a lot on his plate, that he'll sell another deal to you. So we focus on cultivating the relationships that we already have with sellers so that we can buy multiple deals off of them. And so we don't do as much cold calling now just of new sellers. We still do, but majority is cultivating the relationships we currently have. I mean, we have some sellers that we connected with that own thousands of units and we haven't bought anything from them. We've known them for over 3 years when we first spoke to them, but we stay following up with them. We ask for advice, play the mentee role, try to get different knowledge, get different tips from them because they are already where we want to be, knowing that someday they're going to sell us something. And that's kind of the approach that we take. But now, you know how it is, brokers don't give you the time of day in the beginning, but once they see that you are actually performing and you have a resume, which we started in direct to seller, but now we're able to leverage some of the broker relationships that we have. And a lot of those same brokers who wouldn't give us deals, now they're giving us off market looks at deals now as well.
No, there's some valuable stuff there. I love that, where you're just seeing the people that are big players in the market, and instead of continuing cold calling fresh people, you're just going to the well. You have your garden of people that own property, and I love that, staying in touch with people that aren't even interested in selling. You're just colleagues, you're staying in touch with them
Yep.
just to help each other out, or play certain roles just to continue building that rapport. My next question was going to be about brokers, and you brought it up. It The reality at this point is, when you're dealing with brokers, you're probably sharing with them, as many of the sellers as they do, because you've been working with them, so they
Yeah,
see,
they're like your
wow,
competition.
these guys are players.
Yeah, it's definitely uh, it's almost like they're your competition because they're calling a lot of the same people
Mm-hmm.
themselves. They're cold calling, but at the same time, you're proving yourself, and they know you can close. So they're giving you looks at things before it hits the market now, which is what we like. We really, and we've been blessed on all of our deals have been off market, and we like to stick to that because once it goes public, I mean, you guys know the price goes up. I mean, the competition is stiff. So we like to focus on off market opportunities, and the brokers know that. And now that we've closed some deals, they're feeding us off market opportunities, which is great.
I think you can still find deals for residential multifamily on market, but when it comes to commercial multifamily, for it to be a deal, it has to be off market, because once it goes on, it's just a feeding frenzy, as you know. You mentioned sticking with the bigger guys in your specific markets. I love that. My first commercial deal was a guy who has 50, 100 unit properties. He sold me the 8 unit because it was too small for him to worry about.
Mhm.
And that's exactly what we're looking
Yep.
for at our stage. So, what markets are those that you're looking in right now? What markets are you calling these owners in, and why did you pick those markets?
No, great question. And I think our approach may be different than a lot of other investors in the game, but we found success in the smaller tertiary markets. Our first deal was in a major market, the 11 unit, but ever since that deal, our focus has been in the tertiary markets. And the reason we love the tertiary markets is because it's less competition. And especially if you're talking about Florida, even the tertiary markets, the demand is there, and a lot of the demand is coming from the primary markets because there's just not enough housing.
Is Florida your primary focus?
Yes, Florida and Georgia are our two markets that we focus on. Mainly, I mean, we're in Orlando, which is Central Florida, so we wanted to focus on the market, 2 to 3 hour radius. But now we're slowly easing into southern Georgia as well. So we're in some of those markets in southern Georgia. But we found the price points are a lot less. There's a lot more meat on the bone, and there's a lot of value add opportunities in these smaller markets where the demand for rent is in some of these markets just as high. So that's been our focus. That's been our success. And so we tend to only look in the tertiary markets, secondary and tertiary.
Yeah, Florida's been great that way. It's gotten so hot where those primary markets have organically just spread into those secondary, tertiary markets. When you're looking at these opportunities in these tertiary markets, are you analyzing that city that's, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 minutes away, where your prospective tenants are commuting to work? What type of criteria are you looking at, knowing that you're getting into a tertiary market, and you certainly want to make sure that there's a certain amount of a job base, and you're going to have that good tenant flow?
Yeah, we do comps, and we look for what major type employers are there, or what major franchises that are new have just moved there. So one of the, and this is kind of, a quick check the box for us where you don't have to get, what we say analysis by paralysis. We can look for every little indicator, but one of the things that jump out that we look when we look at tertiary markets and we look at the properties, we look for, oh man, they just built a new Starbucks 5 minutes down the street. Oh, there's a Chipotle that just popped up that they just built within the last 2 years. Oh, there's a Chick-fil-A. Uh, oh, they just built a new public supermarket less than 10 minutes down the road. So once we see that those major players are there, we're not so much concerned in Florida, especially with the population numbers and, checking that box on how small the city is, because we know those brands, those national brands, they've already spent millions of doing studies on, the demographics and what's coming to the market, and they wouldn't put their stores there if they didn't predict some future growth. So we don't go solely on that, but that's definitely on top of the other analysis that we do, a good indicator for us that this is a good market.
Bill and I are both in that Tampa market, so we know how competitive it is down there. And in that Florida,
Oh
Georgia
yeah.
area, it is so hot that the secondary, tertiary markets are growing fast and are great plays right now. I don't see that same play up here in like upstate New York, where secondary, tertiary markets are growing at that scale. And like you said, following the national brands is a great idea because they're paying analysts salaries that we can't afford. So just follow their lead and go where they're going,
Yep.
and people are going to go there. Are you in the Savannah, Georgia market at all? I think there's going to be huge growth over there. I haven't looked into it too much myself, but to hear you say that Southern Georgia is a little bit cheaper than Florida, that makes me wonder if Savannah is one of those areas you're looking into.
We love that. We love the Savannah market. We haven't had any deals there that we've analyzed, but that's definitely a market that's on our radar as well. Pretty much, if you cut Georgia in half, uh, and I would say an hour south of Atlanta, and anything down South Georgia, if you drew a line across it, we're looking at all those areas.
Excellent. How are you? What is your deal structure like with a lot of these big assets, and what is the size criteria at this point?
No, great question. So we do either joint venture or we'll do syndication, of course. Primarily now we're syndicating more, but the 11 unit that we started, we did a joint venture. It was five of us who went in together on a joint venture, and we took that one down. That was our first property. It was easy to do it that way. We weren't as familiar with the syndication process, but our second deal, which is a 100 unit that we have in North Florida, we found the sponsor out of New York, and we ended up, that was our first syndication, and we learned so much from that. But our mind just exploded once you learn the syndication aspect. It's just so powerful. But to answer your question, majority of our deals are syndications, but we still do joint ventures, especially on the generational type properties, like the 14 unit that I mentioned, the mixed use that we bought. We did a joint venture with like five or six people on that one, and that is a long term hold, as you guys would say, refi and roll. So if we find something that we consider generational, we definitely try to take it down as a joint venture. And the other properties, majority of them are syndications.
Myron, you took down a 100-unit building on your second purchase, and you're mentioning that 27 minutes into the show. That's impressive, man.
Thanks, man.
How'd you
Man, a lot of work,
how'd you
a
find
lot of
how'd you
perseverance.
find that New York sponsor?
Yeah,
How'd you find that New
me
York
and my
sponsor
partner,
being in
man,
Florida?
yeah, great question. So me and my partner, another thing that we made sure in the beginning, before we had any deals or any deal flow, we wanted to connect with all the major, networks that we have. And there's several big players. So he was connecting to, and he was in masterminds, he was in different coaching, and I was connected to different ones. So we really focused early on building our network, surrounding ourselves with like-minded people in the space who are actually doing deals. Um, like we always say, you always hear proximity is power. So when the opportunity came up and we found this 70-year-old guy off of a cold call, which is shocking to a lot of people, who he owned like over 1,500 units, but this was his last property he wanted to offload and go retire into the sunset. And he didn't want to sell to us at first, but 8 months later of constant, touch, follow up, just staying in touch with him, he gave a shot for us. So it's all now it's that moment like, oh my gosh, he's really gonna sell it to us. So, once you put in the LOI and you go through that, it's like, man, it's real now. Like there's money that has to be down, there's EMD, where are we gonna get all of this is for? So that's where definitely, because me and my partner are both engineers, learning how to underwrite and analyze the deals were the first really major aspect that we focused on. And because we were able to package and show the returns and the projections that you would make and be able to articulate and present that effectively, we were able to quickly find someone who was willing to sponsor and GP with us on this deal. So I think that's very important. It's not just finding the deal, it's being able to explain the deal, explain the pros, explain whether the rent projections are, why do you like the area? What's so having a good presentation to potential sponsors, I think is almost more important than the deal itself, because you have to convince them. They're going to ask you all types of questions and you have to be prepared and ready to present them. And we presented the deal to probably 4 or 5 people who we knew were sponsors and were looking for deal flow. And we ended up choosing a guy we felt comfortable with, and he took a chance on us, two young guys who didn't have a lot of experience. And man, yeah, that deal is has been very successful.
We spend so much time analyzing, underwriting, cold calling that, like you said, when you get that LOI accepted, that's the fun part. That's when it gets real and you have to figure out how to piece it
Oh
together.
yeah.
I like the bigger pockets analogy of fishing. You spend so much time with the line in the water and then you get a bite and it's, oh, I have to figure this out and reel it in here.
Yeah.
You mentioned networking. That's what you're doing right now, expanding your network. So obviously you do the things you say you're doing and it's working out for you. I could talk to you about direct to seller all day because you're clearly an expert at it, and that's the stuff that I really enjoy. It fires me up. But I want to get a better picture of where American Commodity Investment Group is right now and sort of the role that you're playing within the organization. Can you paint that picture for us?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, right now, uh, currently, American Commodity Investment Group, me and my partner, we have, let's see, 172 units currently um, that we manage, asset manage, um, 52 storage units, because one of the deals we just purchased actually had 52 storage units apart, in addition to the 56 units that were there. So we're really excited about that because that also forces us to learn the storage game and be more versatile if we wanted to go down that route in the future. So we currently have that's what we currently actively have now, and we have for like man, like 5 other deals currently under contract, which is scary but also exciting. um, but my role in our team that we're built out right now, because we have so much activity, it's not just me and my partner anymore. We have other people that we've met and we trust and we built a good relationship with that we've pulled into the team now to help offload certain tasks. Um, my role primarily in asset management, which asset management is really the passion of me and my partner both. We love the execution part. We understand that, you know, getting the deal on the acquisition side, that's kind of all the adrenaline, that's the exciting part. But what makes the money is the asset management and the execution. So my role primarily is, man, I'm like the glue that holds everything together. Very analytical. I like to have stuff organized. So I'm dealing with the, leading up to closing, I'm dealing with all the legal documentation, the PPM. I'm the guy who reads every word, every line, every sentence. As painful as that sounds, I found so many mistakes in PPMs. I mean, I found names of completely different uh, partners who I actually know in the space that I found in PPMs and in legal documents, which is funny. So you have to actually read that stuff. Um, I'm responsible for all the finances. I do all the distributions. Um, you know, my partner, he has a construction background. He also has his GC license, so he helps manage and organize a lot of the capex, a lot of the renovations. He leads that effort. But the powerful thing is with both of us, we learned every phase in the beginning. So although we both have different strengths, if we had to fill in, we still know enough to fill in for each other on the primary role. So I think that's very, very important. If you have a partner, you want someone that complements your strengths, but you also want someone who understands enough to where if you were out or if you were out on vacation or if something happened, they could fill that gap uh, if needed. So that's kind of how, in a nutshell, quickly, how we kind of operate, and it's worked well for us thus far.
No, I can clearly see that complementary skill set that you and your partner have, where you're analytically looking at all that paperwork, clearly templates that these PPM attorneys are using, and every now and then working a little too quickly and not backspacing out their last client before they feed that paperwork to you. And your partner is the guy with the construction background, is really able to focus in on the operations. Hearing that you have 5 deals ready to go. So you guys find deals, you complement each other based on how you eloquently describe that. But to do all these deals, where Stephen and I are very clear, it's also funding these deals. And we're talking to our database of potential investors, and everyone's different. It's certainly an art where how much do we describe this opportunity? Some people are a little bit more sophisticated and you can get into the weeds a bit on returns. And some people, you just want to give the highlights so we don't confuse them so much. Do both you and your partner raise money on these deals also, or are those some of the roles that you're filling as you grow your team?
So, so no, great question. And as I mentioned earlier, we when we went all in on this, we actually had a plan of attack for every phase. So one of the things we started out before we even had deals, we started having these investor presentations. We would we would rent out a little clubhouse, and we would try to make it, sophisticated. We would have like wine and some hors d'oeuvres just to kind of make it stand out. And we would invite friends and family to just come out and hear us talk about multifamily. And we had no deals. It's always the hardest part is not having a resume per se, but we were purely just speaking on our passion for multifamily, and showing the vision and why multifamily outperforms the stock market and giving statistics. And the powerful thing though that we were able to do with doing that also is because we were connected to different mastermind groups. It's very important that you leverage those relationships and those networks. So when we presented these presentations, we said, hey, these are our advisors, and this is our team, and the other important thing was that we did, we were LPs first, so that really helped out because now we could use that LP experience as, even though we didn't have our own deal, we could talk through that LP experience as a case study to help give credibility. So we would just kept doing these presentations, and eventually, we had one family member to to say, hey, I'll invest with you guys. And that one family member turned out into two, then a friend joined in. So we took a grassroots approach early on, and that allows for both of us. We raise capital on every deal, both of us. But now, because we have so much deal flow, we're also bringing in capital partners, and we're just trying to connect with other people who doesn't it so it doesn't put so much strain on us to raise the capital. We can focus on other areas of the business and bring in maybe one or two key guys, a part of the general partnership, who could handle majority of the capital. That's where we get into now.
Great points there. Hosting a meetup just adds a lot of credibility, and then also focusing on your strengths just gives you your time back. Talking about time, I have my notebook here and I'm at 50 units and I have notes just down the page.
Awesome.
I'm trying to work 6 to 10 every day and I'm still not getting everything done that I need to get done. I have stuff from yesterday that I still need to catch up on. You're at the point of hundreds of units with your team. Are you still working W-2, and how are you managing all this, this time and time management?
Man, great question, man. So 2 months now, I left my W-2. It's been 2 months. And when I tell you that,
Congratulations.
thank you. That was one of the hardest decisions that I ever made, but of course, one of the best decisions that I ever made. The amount of time that I have now to focus on, what your passion is, and what you're passionate about, and the freedom that you have to do that each and every day is powerful. And the time, you think you will work less, but you end up working more because you're already passionate about it. So you have to figure out how to turn it off, which is the crazy thing, because you have family, you have other things in life that you value. So uh, with that, I'm able to get way more in. And my partner also, he's off his W-2. He left his W-2 actually 4 months ago. So it's no way we would be able to take down all these deals if we were both working on our W-2. So that's the biggest factor that allows us to scale, is the fact that we do it full time together. The other factor is we've we've brought in people that help us. We have like two key guys on the team that have certain roles that just takes pressure off of us, and we have weekly meetings just on the asset management team We have a weekly meeting for acquisitions just to talk about the deals that we currently have in contract, and how are we going to close those deals, and what do we need to do to ensure the success of those. And then we have a separate weekly meeting on the team that just focuses on asset management of the existing deals that we have. So we have a system that we're trying to put in place. We're still growing our systems. We're in the growth phase. But the fact that we have W2 and that we have other team members that actually can help us, those are the key factors that allow us to be able to take on the deal flow that we have right now.
No,
I
that's
have to let
excellent.
Bill wrap this episode up in a minute to respect your time. But first, Myron, I just want to point out how cool it is that in the last 40 minutes, you completely described the entrepreneurial dream. You went from having, I think, your college buddy call you about an idea that he wanted to get
Yeah,
into, an investing
yeah.
idea. And now 2 months ago, you quit your W 2 and you're doing this full time. And that's so inspirational. How long ago was that first call to now for that full timeline?
Yeah, that was actually in 2018. I think it was the end of 2018, I believe, that he called me up, and after that, it was probably another 6 months on my part of just, buying every educational course, reading books, and just, because I had to believe in this 100% to go all in, and I wanted to make sure that there was no part of it that I didn't understand, or that I was sure about it. And I was, after educating myself, I was all in, and since 2018. So yeah, it's been what, a little over 3 years, 3 to 4 years ago. That was when the call happened.
And you've had great success, which gives you guys confidence and certainty. It's clear based on talking to you that you're not the type of guy that just goes and quits his job. You had that ultimate certainty, knowing that that was the right decision. A lot of the times, people will say, "Yeah, I should have done it earlier," because you found your passion. I giggle sometimes where I've been doing this a long time, and I'll get into discussing a deal with my wife or a friend or something like that. And you can see their eyes, they're just kind of droning out because it's not their passion. And at that point, I realize I'm like, all right, I am just listening to myself talk about what I love to do. But Myron, this is the Collecting Real Estate podcast. They say you have to have three of something to make a collection. So we're going to wrap this up with three questions for you. Number one, in 5 words or less, what's the most important thing you've learned since you started collecting real estate?
Man, I would say 5 words: passion will get you there. And I think a lot of us, there's a lot of people who probably start off, you're discouraged, you may not have a big network, you don't have money like a lot of other people do. But I'm here to tell you, I was in that same boat, and pure passion will get you anywhere you need to go. And it will help you fight through any hurdle you have. If it comes to money, you'll find the money. If it comes to network, you'll find the network. And me and my partner are a testament, because we started off, we didn't have either one of those, and we just, I'm not saying it's easy, but our passion, because we wanted this so bad, we just pushed through every obstacle until we saw it happen. So definitely passion will get you there.
That's great. That's great. No, it's not easy. I can certainly assure everyone of that. And that power of language, passion is another one of those powerful words for sure. Second question, what are your 1 to 2 year personal goals?
Yeah, absolutely. And this, it may seem crazy, but I think within 1 year, definitely want to get over 500 units and have over a
Nope,
thousand
nope, nope.
units.
We want personal goals here outside of real estate. What do you do on the weekends?
Oh, you said personal goals. Oh, okay, okay. So personal goals actually for me is also to bring my wife off her W-2 so that we can do this together full time. And I'm working on that within the next year on positioning her so that she can leave her job and be able to do this side by side with me together.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
Love that, Bill. I think we have to add outside of real estate to the
Yeah,
question.
that's where Steven always jumps in there because everybody, we're so into our business and people immediately,
Yeah,
start rattling
yeah.
business goals and Steven doesn't allow it. But now that you're mentioning your business goals, please finish. I'm interested in what's that unit count you want to get to?
Yeah, in 2 years, I would say a thousand units. Uh, which we're at where are we at? 172 right now, and we have some others in contract that'll probably get us up close to 300 plus. So so yeah, I would say in 2 years, 1,000 plus units, and it's going to take a lot of work. Building out the team, that's the most important thing to be able to continue to scale the business. But that's definitely a goal that I'm trying to reach for.
Awesome, awesome. And your personal goals, you mentioned getting your wife out of that W-2. Are you going to bring her into the business? She going to help out?
Yeah, absolutely. So she is already kind of in the real estate business because I said we have like a brokerage business. So, but she also has a job. She's a engineering manager on her job, so she has a lot of responsibility. But uh, she now buys into uh, multifamily and the vision, and she's seeing and she's involved with different things when she can. So she's actually all bought in, and we're both on the same page to within the next year to get her off her W-2 as well, so that we can do this full time
That's
together.
fantastic. That's awesome. That's awesome. Last question for you, Myron, is how can we and the listeners assist you and how do we contact you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think right now with all the deal flow, and we spoke on this earlier, we're always looking for strong capital partners. We have a lot of upcoming opportunities. And now it's like, now once your deal flow builds up, you have to keep up with the deal flow with the capital. So,
Mm,
it, even though we raise money on our own, we're always looking for capital partners we can build relationships with and partner with on future opportunities. And as far as reaching out to me, you always can go to our website. It's at a-commodity.com, and you'll find all the information on myself on how to reach me, or you can email me at McNeil, which is my last name, mcneilm at a-commodity.com.
that's awesome. Thank you so much, Myron. And look forward to that next newsletter. I read right through it each month. You do a great job with that. And want to thank you
Awesome.
once
Thanks.
again for being on the Collecting Real Estate podcast.
Oh, thanks so much, guys, for having me. It's been fun. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Myron.